Good evening and welcome. Hello, my name is John Yanofsky, and I'm the director of Kupferberg Center for the Arts at Queens College. So glad that you've joined us for tonight's KCA online program, which is our last installment of the season of our virtual concert series of Music Makers, which is an alumni concert series we've been featuring graduates of the Aaron Copland School of Music at Queens College. Now, this evening, we're really thrilled and excited to kind of close our season of Music Makers with a phenomenal young piano player, Miss Caili O'Doherty, and her trio, which will be performing an incredible set of music this evening. And we invite you all to stick around after the concert, obviously, for our Q&A and discussion session with the artists. Now, hopefully you all have been joining us for some of our other KCA online programs this season. Obviously, it has been a very different and unique year. And we're just really appreciative to our funders and our sponsors who have stuck by us and have helped us navigate these times to bring you all at home a complete season of virtual events, including concerts, gallery talks, and readings with some phenomenal writers. And we couldn't do it without our incredible funders and our sponsors. And we always like to acknowledge them at this time. Our title sponsors, New York Community Bank, and we thank them for their unyielding support of Kupferberg Center during what was a very challenging year. We also received support from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and our namesake benefactors, the Max and Selma Kupferberg Family Foundation. And of course, all of you who make our programs possible, and we do appreciate you joining us for these programs. Which brings us to tonight and the last program of our Music Maker series. Now, the Aaron Copland School of Music is a renowned program at Queens College, and we've been able to mine the incredible array of alumni who have literally gone out and created their lives as professional artists all across the world and the country. And we've been really privileged to showcase this. And all of these artists came to us and came to you through the curation of my colleague, Carlos Cuestas. Now, Carlos put together this entire series, and I'm so excited to introduce Carlos, who you all are very familiar with, who will introduce the program. And Carlos, thank you so much for putting this program together and really being able to shine a light on these incredible graduates of the Aaron Copland School of Music.
Not at
Carlos, good to see
all.
you tonight.
Good to see you, man. Thank you so much for that shout out. It's been an absolute pleasure, really, to be able to work at Kupferberg Center, to be able to get in touch with all these musicians who have had such a wonderful education at Queens College, at the Aaron Copland School of Music. And, it's not bittersweet because we hope to continue this series next year. But in the meantime, though, I do want to talk about and introduce to our audience Caili O'Doherty, who is a pianist, an arranger, a composer based in New York City. And what I find really fascinating about her music is that Caili integrates structures of language in it. So what I hear is sort of like the phrasing and the articulation of her playing. It's kind of modeled or takes a cue out of the spoken word. So that is really fantastic feature of her music as well. I do want to mention that Caili has an album out. Her latest album is called Pat Me. And again, she integrates lyrics to instill melodies with the rhythms of spoken language. Padme, it's Persian for lotus flower, a flower that grows and rises to bloom on the water surface from the mud. So it's a really cool metaphor to tell people that it doesn't matter how complicated it gets, you can still, bloom out of whatever circumstance we're going through. And the last thing I want to say about Caili is that she is also scheduled to start recording this fall. So, we are very blessed to have her. Tonight's program is mostly of her original compositions. So, without further ado, here is Caili O'Doherty from the Aaron Copland School of Music.
Welcome to my performance for the Music Makers Concert Series. My name is Caili O'Doherty, and today I'm performing with my trio, featuring Jonathan Lakey on the bass and Corey Cox on the drums. I'm a graduate of the Aaron Copland School of Music at Queens College, where I received my master's degree in 2019 in performance. I would like to give a special thank you to the Kupferberg Center for the Arts and also Carlos for asking me to perform for this Music Makers Concert Series and supporting artists during the pandemic. The first song we're going to play is a composition written by Joe Henderson entitled Jinrickshaw. This is off of one of my favorite recordings called Page One, and this is my arrangement. The second composition we're going to play is an old hymn. It's called My Faith Looks Up to Thee, and this is Kim Burrell's arrangement. We hope you join us after the performance for a live Q&A, and if you have any questions you'd like to ask me, I'd be happy to answer them. Hope you enjoy the show. Next, we're going to perform an original composition called Quarantine Dream. I wrote this last March at the beginning of the pandemic while recovering from COVID-19, and I felt like I was in a dream. After that, we're going to play Humpty Dumpty by Chick Corea. He was one of my favorite pianists who sadly recently passed away. The final two compositions we're going to play are part of a larger suite I'm writing for my mom. My mom was born and raised in Ireland. Part one is called Garogine, which is my mom's name, Gerardine, in Gaelic. And part two of the suite is called Dágra Agam Ditch, which means I love you in Gaelic. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please stick around for the live Q&A happening right now.
Wow, that's all I can say. Incredible set, Carlos. I mean, a big, big, big round of applause for that incredible trio. I mean,
I
what
mean, the balance, right? Like so fiery, but it was also such a lightness and sort of like almost levitating, right? I am awestruck by how balanced this was, and obviously virtuosic. Yeah, phenomenal, John. Really, really, really good.
Yeah, two things that just blew me away. One, it totally reminded me what it feels like to be in a club, listening to this music happening. And
Yeah.
second, if there's any concern about the future of this music, it is in incredibly good hands. And we have just some incredible practitioners who are moving it forward.
I absolutely agree. And without further ado, let's bring them to our studio.
Hello. Hi, John
Hey.
and Carlos.
Very
Hey,
well.
Kaylee. Hey, Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you for that amazing, amazing set of music and just, sharing your energy, your spirit, your ideas, and your conversation with us.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So we invite our audience members to ask questions on your YouTube comment section. We will bring them up and read them. But when we get started, I want to ask you both, Kaylee and Corey as well. You gave us a breadth of sort of like the practice of jazz in this 30 minutes, and I was really, I'm still in awe about how comprehensive this was for such a limited amount of time. So I want to ask you both a very simple question, I think, but where do you draw inspiration from? Because it's not only like the birds and the sea, right? Like this is a holistic process. So I wonder if we can start with that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that question. I draw inspiration from so many different things. You can kind of hear there was many different pieces between arrangements and also original music that we played. I tried to highlight on more recent arrangements and compositions that have been written during the pandemic in the past year, or even most recently that suite I wrote just a few months ago. I think drawing inspiration from music that we listen to. I love all different types of music. You could hear there was a gospel tune in there, My Faith Looks Up to Thee, Kim Burrell, one of my favorite artists. The Joe Henderson composition, Jinriksha, that was an arrangement that Corey and I came up with at the very beginning of the pandemic. We were just, Corey's also my husband, and we were locked inside and just practicing together all the time. And we were experimenting with different grooves on the drums and just finding out what I could accompany with that on piano. And that's where that came out of. The suite for my mom was actually, another piece that was inspired. I think we have a question later coming on that, so I'll save that. But I think all things in life, art, music, life, nature, all different influences.
Yeah. What about you, Corey? What draws your inspiration? Where you draw inspiration from?
Well, it was very inspiring putting this performance together to be able to be in a situation where you can play music with other people. For me, that was really rewarding. In the midst of that performance, I kept thinking like, man, it's so inspiring to just see people smile. Well, I couldn't see anyone smile behind the mask, but just like the feeling that everyone was just bringing to the table. And it's inspiring, being able to be in a position to see my growth or lack thereof, or just highlight certain things that I want to focus on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, none of us would have wished for this situation we've been in these last 14, 15 months, but there have been some opportunities, right, to be a little quieter, a little slower. I know for artists like yourselves, that opportunity to look inward and really pull out some of that expressiveness that we don't always get to do in the constant shuffle and hustle of our lives. And there is a comment that we want to bring in from our YouTube audience from the next Festival of Emerging Artists. They say, a dynamic set, wonderfully expressive. What was your process for developing the piece about your mother? And thanks. Gotta add the thanks in there.
And by the way, not that we planned this concert, that we knew you were going to play something for your mother after Mother Days. So, you know, we had nothing to do with it. So anyway, take it away.
Right. I didn't think about that either. But that piece was actually, thank you for the question. That piece, it's part of a larger suite that I'm still kind of writing. It's very new. But that first piece, the ballad Grogine, was actually inspired by, I was going through some old like manuscript paper that I had from back in the day when I was maybe in high school, taking notes from lessons. And I found my dad had actually written a song for my mom. It was called Blues for Jer. And that's my mom's nickname. And I was playing it, trying to sight read through it and figure out, and I had played it for him. And he was kind of remembering like, oh yeah, I remember I wrote that like 20 years ago. And this song that I wrote is nothing like that. He probably wouldn't even recognize it. But he had this specific voicing on the piano, and it was like a cluster voicing. And so I took that shape, that idea, and kind of ran with that. And then the second part of the suite just came in straight from the first part. It was like when I was writing it, it was all attached. And so that's kind of where it came from. And the Gaelic names are inspired by I guess my curiosity to learn more about Irish culture and also Irish music. So in the larger suite, I'm hoping to explore more of that, more of the music, folk music and dance and other art that comes from Ireland.
Yeah, I have to say, I went to Ireland 2 years ago and I'm still sighing because I left. So there it is. But anyway, so we have a question actually from Noah Berman for both of you. So, Corey, I'll start with you. Is musical collaboration, Noah asks, / conversation, a constant part of day-to-day existence, or do you have methods or quote-unquote rules to compartmentalize that from the rest of your life together?
Ooh, that's
And if you have any marital advice, do feel free to give it out as well.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Actually, can you bring that one back up, if you wouldn't mind? Let's see. Musical collaboration and conversation. It's, for me, it's always a part of the day, and like truncating various experiences that I have with everyone, and like trying to use them to highlight, what we love doing the most, which is like creating, seeing everyone has a story to tell. So we're only here for so long and for us to be able to like experience those stories with everyone, or those moments or experiences. I'm sorry, it's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, there's a lot there for sure. And just going back to the previous conversation or comment about this suite that you've written, Caili, and we were just chatting. while it was playing, I was just, your mom know, like, you've written like this incredibly funky song, like I was out of my chair, and you're like, no, this is the first time she's listening to it. And so I just think that's amazing. I want somebody to write such a cool tune for me someday. But that's a really powerful sentiment that you communicated about your mom. But I can't wait to hear the full suite.
Yeah.
So yeah, we also have another comment coming in from YouTube from Forever Felicia. Great screen name. This is wonderful. Very well done. This music really uplifted my spirits tonight. Thank you. A lot of gratitude tonight. I'm loving to see that. I would like to know where your love of music came from. And you both have touched on this a little bit, but maybe further elaborate where that love comes from, because it's clear it comes across in your music, both of your playing very, very readily.
Yeah. My love of music came when I was young. My parents had a piano in the house, and we would, my dad played piano and guitar, and my mom grew up playing piano as well, but doesn't play anymore. And so music was always a big part of our home, specifically the Beatles and more folk music. My mom loves country music. She's born and raised in Ireland, but she loves Willie Smith, and she loves all of that kind of music. So we kind of had an eclectic childhood, listening to all different music. But my dad loved jazz music, and so he really introduced me to that. And I think my love of music really was ignited in playing with other people, the community of what music is. When I went to middle school, I went to an art school, and we played together in a big band, and it was like something that everyone was so passionate about together mutually, and wanted to learn and grow together. So it felt very much like a supportive shared interest, and that has always been the thing that has kept me, I think, motivated and inspired in playing music. Is it's a way that it's something that connects people of all different walks of life and all different places in the world. Despite language barriers and all sorts of things, it's something that brings people together. And so that's what I like about it.
Yeah, Corey, you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I would say my love for music came from just growing up in church. At a young age, my mom made myself and my siblings sing in the church choir and the youth choir. And then from there, just seeing my grandmother play piano in church and my dad play bass in church, and many different musicians in my family just playing in church. I just kind of wanted to jump on the bandwagon and have fun with them. And I would say that I guess that's kind of shaped how I play music today. Just trying to like feel the energy from everyone and uplift spirits.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that the music education for Black American communities comes from church and from church and from church. It's a wonderful, wonderful institution that has given us all so much, like so much. So it's really cool that you acknowledge that part of your upbringing. That is, the love of music right there. And in that light, Joan Bear asks a very interesting question for musicians, I think, because it's not what or how, but it's a why question. So why do you perform and develop your composition scale? That's an interesting question. What makes you keep going? Why do you do this?
Yeah, let me think about how to approach that. You could think about that many ways. I feel like I can express myself very well through music. So I think that's probably where it starts with. Some people feel that they can express themselves through poetry and writing and words. And I personally feel that I can express myself through instrumental music. I love everything about it, pretty much. I love studying about people that came before. I love learning about Black American music and how music has always been tied to, historical events throughout history, and specifically in the United States. I love playing music with other people. I love the community aspect of it. I love kind of composing and performing. They're kind of different things to me. Composition I look at as like improvising slowly, so creating something spontaneous but through a slower process where you can kind of filter and revise and fine tune all the details in what you're doing. And improvisation, we practice that on our own to be able to do that in the moment quickly. So I look at them kind of similarly. And the reason I do it, I think ultimately is because I feel that I can offer something to the world, and I can kind of create something that is my contribution and also connect people.
Well, I know you'd be making all of your former professors at the Aaron Copland School of Music very proud with that answer, which is a good segue. I mean, we always like to, acknowledge the role that Aaron Copland School of Music plays in fostering kind of the next generation of jazz performers and jazz educators. And so just curious, how did your Queens College experience positively impact your career, both from artistic side, professional kind of business managerial side, but just curious how that has shaped and gotten you to where you are in your career right now.
Yeah. So I went back to school to get my master's degree at Aaron Copland School of Music in 2017. And I graduated from my undergrad at Berklee College of Music in 2013. So I had 4 years in between where I was just living in New York and teaching and kind of making a living as a professional musician. It gave me a great respect for going back to school, actually, which I wasn't sure about. But when I went back, I was so excited to learn new things. I really appreciated it. I also paid for it myself. And so I had a great appreciation for all the amazing educators. I mean, like, people move to New York City to study and play with the best musicians in the world. And Aaron Copland School of Music at Queens College is an extension of that. The faculty are some of the best musicians in the world. And I just loved my experience there. Every teacher I had, I still talk to all of them, play with them. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I gotta ask the corollary. I know, Corey, you're not at Queens College alone, but we still love your playing, and so wonderfully inspired to meet you. But I want to pass the question to you. I know we were chatting that you went to the new school, and I know both of you all kind of have two sides to your career: your performers and your educators as well. You teach instruction, and so I'm curious how your experience at the new school either positioned you to maybe do both, or you learned some things about yourself there that made you want to maybe develop the educational side of yourself. But just what about your academic experience that has kind of informed where you are in your career now?
So my academic experience at the new school was it was cool. I was kind of wet behind the ears and young and eager to be in New York. And the new school gave me the greatest experience of studying with some of my musical heroes like Reggie Workman and Cecil Bridgewater. And these guys like took me under their wings and told me stories about from like when they were on the road. And yeah, still to this day, I still talk to all of my teachers and take those many shared experiences with me so that I can, share those stories later on down the line with other musicians that are on the come up.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because I think it's a good segue for one question that I have for both of you, even though it's directly directed to our pianist in residence here, but also to Corey applying it to his instruments. And I wonder, Caili, if you could tell us a little bit about, or if you could rather offer any kind of advice for future pianists. So we are obviously within the context of Queens College and education in general. So maybe let me switch it around. Corey, why don't you take that, and then I'll have Caili talk about that one last, so that we can sort of like switch the roles here. So not for pianists, for you, Corey, obviously, but for percussionists. Thinking about your background that you shared with us, thinking about your academic career, where you're at right now. Any advice you would offer to young percussionists?
Yeah, I would suggest studying the history of the instrument that you're playing, the origin where it comes from, so you can pay homage to the culture. I think it's important to study all walks of music. If you can dive into studying classical music, gospel music, Black American music, everything. Never limit yourself, and just stay open to everything everyone has to share with you.
And Caili, what do you?
I echo what Corey's saying about studying history of the music that you're studying. Like, we talked about this a lot at Queens College. Actually, there's so many international students, which is such a beautiful thing. I thought that was so amazing to meet musicians from all over the world. And even if you listen back to all the Music Maker concert series so far, you'll find people from all over, from Taiwan and Mexico. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. Jazz music has traveled all over the world. But one thing that I am personally very passionate about is studying about Black American music, about history, about culture, language, and not just musically, but historically. I feel like that educates what we do, and it's important as carrying the torch, for this music, especially as a white musician. But for students, I just highly recommend, finding things that you're into and following through with that. If you're really into composing, if you're really into big band writing, if you're really into production and, recording, whatever you're into, dig deep into that and try and find the source, find whoever is able to connect you with the best content.
That's fantastic. That's a wonderful sentiment to end our conversation on. So Caili and Corey, it's such a pleasure to have you all here in the studio and sharing about your music and your lives and your careers. I know folks at home be interested to continue to follow your lives and your careers. So we're gonna want to mention your social media contact information. So Caili's website, where you can find out all about her music, is cailimusic.com. Her Facebook, where you can follow her, definitely please do so. It's right there, facebook.com /Caili Music. And her Instagram, of course, you've already taken the lessons from Aaron Copland. Well, you guys got your business platforms good. And then Corey as well. We're going to put up Corey's information, his website at coreycoxmusic.com, his Facebook. She's going to share his middle name with us at Corey Jerome Cox, and then his Instagram as well. So please, by all means, I want to actively encourage people to follow and support these artists as well. And Caili, thank you for mentioning the other music makers. And we have been really proud to be able to showcase folks from literally all over the world who are doing incredible music with their own particular sense of style and just aesthetic. It's been really incredible. So we've been very, very proud of what we've been doing here. Now, of course, Kupferberg is still going to be going strong with other programs this spring and into the summer. And you can always find out what's happening through our website at kupferbergcenter.org. Carlos will be curating an incredible series that will be kicking off next month. More of a lecture demonstration series, and then into the summer, our traditional summer concert series live at the Gantries at Gantry State Park in Long Island City, just off the press, will happen live this year. So look for further announcements. Please join us down at Gantry State Park in the middle of July, and obviously join us back here on our online programs. Carlos, anything you want to add before we close?
Well, I just wanted to thank all of you and our audience members for tuning in into this brand new edition of Music Makers. It's the pandemic is not lost on arts organizations, but we kept going strong, and we were able to open a forum for artists, for emerging artists as well. So I thank you, Caili, for recognizing that. But yeah, without the audience members, we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and to Caili and to Kari for being here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, John, Carlos, also Teresa and Andres and the Kupferberg Center. Thank you very much for having us. We had a blast. And John, the bass player, he shares the same sentiment. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Thank you guys so much for being here. Everybody at home, be safe, be well, and we'll hopefully see you back here online and hopefully soon in person. Thanks a lot. Everybody have a good night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.